you doing, beautiful people? It's your girl Chantel, and of course...
Yeah, the one and only hip-hop gamer hot 97 Logitech G, baby, Boss Media. Let's get it.
Welcome to the Culture Dome, brought to you by Young Boss Media. So, of course, first and foremost...
Yeah, you gotta show love.
We got to shout out to our whiskey. We got to shout out to our sponsor.
You gotta keep that.
We got to shout out to our sponsors, right? One of which is a whiskey.
Yep, Shinju whiskey. Guap, get that guap. Got the guap coin.
And of course, Never Enough coffee, which I might need a cup of right now because I'm looking like I'm slipping.
I hear, you're trying to get better though.
I'm trying to get better.
But it's all right. Now we gonna make this show. It's gonna help you get better.
You know what?
That's it. We good.
I'm out here. We doing it today. It doesn't matter. We gonna let the people.
Amazing, so. Yeah.
Oh well, thank you.
Of course.
That makes me feel better. Okay. So let's roll right in because there's some stuff going on as per usual.
Yeah, always. Let's get
always something going on.
Yeah, set it off.
So first and foremost, people are upset.
Yep.
They're upset.
I'm hearing that.
You know why they upset?
Well, we was talking off camera, but I think one of the things was, what's that lady name that got the 14-day sentence?
Felicity Huffman.
Felicity Huffman. Yeah. So break it down.
Throw it back, right? Because at first, right, we had the whole UCLA or, UC campus sort of scandal where people were cheating on SAT scores. They were paying for people to write their kids' essays. Yep. They were doing all this stuff. So essentially, this whole scandal comes out.
Okay.
A bunch of celebrities, bunch of rich people's kids in Yale, Harvard, UC, places.
Was that still associated with Shorty from Full House, Lori, or is that something different?
From Full House.
Remember the girl from Full House, Lori, something like that. She was Uncle Jesse's girlfriend.
Oh,
from Full House.
You know what? I think her too. There was a whole ring of folks who had gotten involved in it.
Okay,
so
I remember now.
It looks like the judge sentenced her to pay a fine of $15,000 in 14 days, right? But the reason people are really upset is not because that's what she got, but because there have been 2 stories about black women using different addresses who got sentences of years in prison.
Yeah, there was this girl, she got 5 years in prison because I think she used her babysitter's address to get her kid in a better school or something like that. And she got 5 years for that. But then the girl Felicity come through and get 14 days and doing pretty much worse, in the situation, pretty much worse, like really hustling the system. So people upset. Of course they're gonna be upset because it's just another scenario of white privilege that we have in America. It's just another scenario. And but my thing is, it's one of those situations where the more mad you get, the more you talk about it. Obviously, that method isn't changing anything because we keep seeing the same results. So the question is, what can be done differently, or like, look at what LeBron James did. LeBron, even though not everybody can't be LeBron James with the money that he has, but the point I'm trying to make is he has his own school, private school.
Right.
I feel like the more y'all see these stories and the more y'all see these things take place, should give you more insight on the more we come together, we could get our own building, do our own school, and do our everything. You know how many people that's being homeschooled right now, doing amazing things too?
Right.
So to me, I feel like, why be a part of a system that's actually not for you?
But they're showing numbers that black families every single year more and more are just homeschooling their kids for so many reasons. One of them is because they don't teach Black history right?
Absolutely.
Like, so I know like in Texas, they took the word slave out of slave trade. Like they had all these sort of like names, like we're gonna call
modifying the truth.
Laborers, we're gonna call them, all sorts of things that people were like, well, I'm not gonna send my kid to school to learn fake history, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather my kid learn what I want them to know and make sure that they actually know facts at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I mean, for black folks in particular, right, it's actually kind of harmful not to know.
Yeah, exactly, because if you don't know, how can you, put it like this, if you're gonna keep the truth from me, then what am I living on for my life? Like, you know what I'm saying? So to me, I feel like don't try to sugarcoat the truth based off your guilt. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't doing that. So to me, in this particular situation, I just think it should be an eye-opener that, look, a lot of times people talk about how black people can't stick together or come up together and do certain things. I'll tell you right now, like, whether you black, whether you white, whatever, if you see that situation happening to people, then you should, I feel, you should figure out a way to come together, bring your resources, money, information, knowledge, whatever it is you bring to the table, and get your own.
Yeah.
Simple. Because I'm gonna tell you something right now, and this is very important. That's my camera, right, bro? All right, so this, I gotta tell you something that's very important, right? Just real quick, because it still relates to this, but I'm gonna use a piece of my personal life to make this make sense.
Sure.
So the first thing I'm gonna tell you is this, right? When G4 Tech TV was out, this was like the ESPN for gaming, right? And when that was out, you know, there was no black people giving you the gaming news and stuff like that. I still enjoyed what I saw, but I ain't seen nobody that looked like me up there. So instead of complaining about us not being there, I created it and became what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Simple. So many people complain about everything and do nothing but complain about everything. So if that's all you're doing, I ain't trying to hear that. What are you doing to actually make the difference or lead in that way to affect the change that you want to see? So my call out to everyone is, when you see what happened, this girl got 5 years for trying to do something to help her child. And then this other person get 14 days simply because she's white and got that white privilege here in America. If it makes you that upset, but you do nothing about it, then I want to hear nothing from you, period. Good.
And I think amongst the people who do something, the real question is do we try to work within the system, right? Like, this is what it is. This is what you see, right? Do you try to work within the system, or do you break out and just make another system?
Me personally, I would say both.
Okay.
I would say both. And the reason why I say work within the system is because you can create an incredible system when you know what's wrong with the current. Because the thing is, you don't want to go in, and you don't want to create your own system and have the same mistakes from the previous. So you see the good and you see the bad, get rid of the bad, fix that. So now you're 100 and it's all good for everybody, and including, black people especially because of the situation.
But
So yeah, that's the way I feel about it.
Hold on, I had a slip-see with my mic pack back here.
No, what that means is that what I was saying was so impactful.
I know. It just jumped out. I was moved.
Let's go, man. You know what I'm saying?
But it reminds me that now we got people running for president, right? So we got the debates up. People are talking about all sorts of issues.
Right.
For black people, what they care about the most is healthcare, criminal justice reform, right? And we want to make sure that we don't have any corruption in the election, right? Because we want to make sure that people aren't using Black Lives Matter, using different things that really are about us to divide us and to not really get what we need out of this election, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think they did a poll, and they said that 95% of black women are planning on voting.
95%?
95%, as opposed to the country in general, in which like 48% of the country votes, usually like on a good year.
Now that's huge, because it's one of those situations where it's like, the more you know, the more you get involved, and that's a result of the more you know being involved. So I think that's incredible. My question is, what are you, voting for? Because at this point, a lot of times we're voting for what people say. We're not voting for the actual action to take place. So to me, I think from here's the way I look at it, right? If I was running for president or something like that, and there's something that I wanted to do, like, for example, I know off the camera we spoke about Andrew Yang,
right?
With the freedom dividend, right?
Yeah.
So when I was listening to him speak about it, like, not only did he talk about wanting it to happen, he literally said, "Yo, it's actually not that hard because it already exists. I think in Alaska or somewhere, some other place." He said it already exists. All you have to do is tax the people that are not taxed based on the technology, because there's enough money there for everybody to do it. That's one. Two, it's an opt-in. So whether you want it or not, it's up to you, but it's an opt-in, so you can get it, $1,000 per month for everybody that's 18 years and older. And three, the way you do it is you go to the some house, not the White House, but it was some thing, I don't know everything about it, but it was some place that he said that you go to and you put this, it's not even an application that you apply. Once you become president, it's something that you can easily go down and do, and it will be a choice because it's something that already exists. So pretty much the way he broke it down in a step where, okay, I get it, I understand it, it makes sense.
It seems doable.
It seems, Sure. Whereas a lot of times people will talk and say a lot of things, but never actually tell you how they're going to get it done.
Well, it seems like, you know, as opposed to what people sort of say about black people are not voting on race this election. That's not the thing. People are worried about who's got the best plan. I know a lot of people who are younger, they're in Yang Gang, right? Like,
Yeah, Yang Gang. I don't hear nobody say I'm rocking with Andrew Yang.
A lot of like real progressive folks who are about the freedom dividend and who think it's like a realistic solution to a lot of the issues.
Yeah, because it already exists.
But
like,
then,
it's just like healthcare.
Yeah.
Free healthcare already exists in other areas.
Right.
So my thing is,
so people like Bernie, people like Andrew, people like Elizabeth Warren, who's talking about paying off student debt.
Elizabeth
student
Warren.
debt,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, I think the biggest thing is that what you're starting to see is exactly what you were saying, right? Like, people don't care if we change the system. They're like, listen, the system's broken.
Period.
So, like, I don't care if it looks like socialism. I don't care if it looks like something else. Like, show me what it looks like.
Something that works.
Right.
That we can actually benefit off
that
of.
I ain't got to worry about going to the hospital. I was talking to my mom yesterday, and, you know, I'm from one of those families where if somebody's sick, everybody's like, don't call the ambulance, because nobody want to pay the ambulance fee.
Yo, and that's sad to think like that, but it's true.
But that's
it's
exactly what happens.
Oh,
because we've all seen the situation happen where somebody don't want to go to the hospital because they don't want to pay the bill.
Yeah, so that's very, very interesting.
And so between that and police brutality and all that other stuff, when you see somebody like Kamala Harris, right, as even though she matches the skin tone, her history on criminal justice is getting her in hot water.
I need you to educate me. Like, why people don't like Kamala Harris? The only thing I heard is that she was like putting people in jail or something like that before. Well, I don't know. You gotta school me on that.
Well, of course, right? Because that was her job. I mean, in part, right? She was a district attorney.
So she was a judge.
She's a district attorney, which means that she's over the whole court system for parts of California at one point. And so what really people were criticizing is that she had the opportunity not to send people to jail, to do alternatives, to change, you know, turn over laws that had stricter sentencing, that were sort of like hard on crimes, tough on drugs kind of things.
Yeah.
And she didn't, right? And so now, now people are basically saying you helped to fill up prisons, and now that you're running for president, you're saying something else. And, you know, she's basically saying, listen, I'm doing the best I can with what I have. Right, but I'm within a system that's only going to let me do so much. And it's like, people hear that, but then on the other hand, they're like, yeah, but like, it's still you. Like, nobody cares that you're saying now that you want us to vote for you, that you're sorry about it, and you wouldn't have done it again.
Yeah, what I would say is that's where it comes to where if you get a job, whether you're a judge, whether you're a cop, whatever it is, if you get a job to do something to the best of your ability, and there's wrong things and corruption that's happening within it, if you don't say anything about it and just let it rock, then you're guilty. And if you speak up about it, even if it means losing your job, for that moment, it may seem scary because, you know, you lost your job, whatever. But in a situation as Camilla, let's say she would have done the right thing at that time and overturned certain things that she had the power to do. They would have been at her door like crazy with votes, like right now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
But I mean, it's like the long game, you know. But would she even be running if she did that? If you
spent all this time getting to the point that you at now, obviously you played a role in the long game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because you don't get there overnight.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people will say, oh, well, you know, you got to make certain compromises in order to get where you want to go, so that by the time you have a say, you can make change then. But like, until then, you just got to play the game.
Well, see, playing the game, you have to understand what you're playing with.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing the game to win in the long haul, there's gonna be a lot of sacrifice along the way. If I'm playing the game just for the moment, then yeah, I'll play your little game because it's only for the moment, and that's all I care about is my moment. So it's selfishly done. So that's the way I look at it when it comes to that. But yeah, I see why nobody's feeling.
I mean, people
Camilla.
are feeling it, right? Like we're beyond the you look like me kind of thing at this point. I think people are feeling that.
And this goes to prove my point. And I'm telling you, that's my camera, right? All right, cool. So I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. And I'm not sure, you know, people may get offended or mad, but you know, I don't care because I'm all about the truth. Facts over feelings. That's the way I live my life. Like, stop looking at everything as black person, white person, Asian person, this and that, this and that. It's all human, period. And as a human, you have right things to do and you got wrong things to do. And here's my thing is, has a black person ever did me wrong? Yes. Has a white person do me wrong? Yes. People will do you wrong, and people will do you good. It don't matter what form or color or whatever it comes in. right is right, wrong is wrong, and truth is truth. I think the more people choosing to see people for who they are, then they won't get blinded by I'm woke now, so everything black is this. No. Everything white is no. Like, it's not like that. Look at people for who they are, and then you will get your answers. And when people reveal to you who they are, believe them.
Well, let's do a right and a wrong to end this current event segment, right? Because the wrong was, the U.S. government said we were going to let the people from the Bahamas come up here after Dorian because the Bahamas have been wrecked.
Oh my God! I heard about that.
The wrong is that we didn't let them do it. Trump said.
Yes, that was the wrong.
So the quote from Trump
is wrong about a lot of things.
We have to be very careful. Everybody needs totally proper documentation because, look, the Bahamas have some tremendous problems with people going to the Bahamas that weren't supposed to be there. I don't want to allow people that weren't supposed to be in the Bahamas to come into the United States, including some very bad people and some very bad gang members and some very, very bad drug dealers. So we're going to be very, very strong on that. A lot of veries on that in that quote.
I'm going to make this real easy, right? So you got people here in America right now, and there's crime every day, right? So you got people that suffer in the Bahamas that never committed a crime before. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people out there. So my thing is, if you have people come here that's going to try to make things better based on what they was doing when, they was out in Bahamas, whatever, I would literally have a draft where I'm trading some people. All you, like, Americans that's killing everybody doing this crazy stuff, we trading you over here. We sending you over here.
You're going to take some refugees
and I'm going to take some people in because at the end of the day, look at it like this. I know it may sound funny, but let's keep it real, right? If you had the option to have LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, Shaq, all these people on one team to get your championship, Steph Curry, I'm going with all the people that's down to play their role and work as hard to make things better for the team. But if you got people on the bench that ain't putting in no time, ain't putting in no work, they just happy that they collecting a check, sitting down, not doing nothing, or you have a J.R. Smith moment where there's 2 seconds left on the clock.
Okay.
And you dribble the ball out and don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like you need to get up out of here. So even though that was a sports analogy, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well,
how you gonna do that?
And wrong is wrong, right?
That's completely wrong.
And so for our good, we'll leave it off with the fact that Rihanna over New York Fashion Week through her annual Diamond Ball, which is for the Clara Lionel Foundation, right? Named by her grandparents, and they raised $5 million for girls' education.
Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up.
So that's the good. That's the good thing. We also got somebody good coming up.
Who we got?
Because we got a break coming up, but after the break, after we get back, we'll be here with Congressional candidate James Felton Keith II, or JFK 2, as some people call him, JFK.
All right, JFK, let's get it popping.
And he's going to be talking about his candidacy, some personal data advocacy, his TV network, as soon as we get back.
Let's get it.
Welcome back to the Culture Dome, brought to you by Young Boss Media. We are here with James Felton Keith II.
I got a lot of names.
I feel like I gotta add the second, because there's a first somewhere, and I'm not really sure what he did, but we would hate to have you confused with
a good guy. He ain't doing
some other guy.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, JFK?
No, I mean, people who know me just, they call me James, but a lot of people call me JFK, and really because they couldn't remember which name was first and which one was last. A lot more people call me Keith than James. And then when politics got started, which I think James is more of a first name than Keith, but apparently people go,
Let's
Keith
go with
is
James, because that's actually my brother's name.
Yeah,
so
James is...
That's also actually your name.
Yeah, that's
actually your name.
I like
so,
James works.
What up, James?
James works. But people in the political scene just started saying JFK.
Well,
it just sort of like happened,
I can see
It was
that.
never a nickname growing up. People call me JK, people call me Felton, but I don't know. A lot of people call me JFK right now. I don't like own it or disown it. It's just, it's a thing.
Yeah,
It's a
got
thing.
you.
It
Just
happens.
roll with it.
You
Just
gotta let
roll
the
with
culture
it.
do what it's gonna do, you know, let it manifest. So, yeah.
Well, how you been lately?
I'm good. I mean, I'm a little tired, but
I know
I'm good.
politics are in full swing right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We're getting, our race is June 23rd of 2020. So the primary is what matters in Harlem. So I'm running the 13th district. That's everything above Central Park to the end of the island, and also Marble Hill in the Bronx and Kingsbridge in the Bronx. So everything above Fordham Road in the Bronx is also me. And you
That's
know,
my district.
where are you up there? Okay,
Hello.
all right.
Wow,
Oh, we gotta
okay.
hang out. Yeah,
Uptown.
all right. So you know, we move around, and you know, I see a lot of people during the day, but then around 3 o'clock, really, I think right after this, they lock me in a basement, and I have to call people for money, and you know, do that whole thing. That's grueling. And then you have the evening events.
Wow.
So it's a little taxing. I always lose a good, like, you know, 5-10 pounds when we get in the political
Oh,
mode.
that's good.
Wow.
That's a good cycle.
A woman would say that. I'm like, nah, I need
I'm
10
actually
back.
trying to gain weight,
Yeah.
gain more weight right now too.
If I
It's
could
so
get
funny.
10 back, I would be good to go. But anyway,
No, maybe
yeah.
once you get elected, we'll get you those
Yeah,
pounds
I'll
back.
start eating. I eat and then relax on it.
I'll bring
you
you
know?
some cake.
That's what I need. Cake, some macaroni and cheese, something like that. You know.
Well, let's not downplay it. You're not just a congressional candidate,
I
right?
don't-
You're
yeah.
not just that. You have some
Yeah,
other
yeah. There's a lot more
things
to you, man.
going on.
I think, you know, when you move into politics, hopefully you come into politics having done a bunch of other things that bleed into politics. So, I mean, I'm an engineer and economist by trade, so I mostly just wonk out about how to solve distribution problems. I look at every problem, no matter what it is, whether it's a mechanical problem or a communications problem, as a distribution problem. Like, if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm distributing the wrong language to you. So in that capacity, I've started a bunch of companies, you know, here in New York, mostly software companies.
Right.
But the latter part of my career, really the past 10 years, has really been rooted in cybersecurity policy and data policy. So I and my team at the Data Union, we write arguably the vast majority of the cybersecurity policy on the planet. So everything in Europe, most of the things in Asia, a lot of the stuff that's happening here in the United States around the fact that our digital lives are not separate from our lives anymore.
Right.
Right.
Is something that we've either written about or influenced or lobbied for in some capacity. And the real effort behind that is really a cultural effort. You know, we're arguing that as we have evidence of our lives, evidence of our culture, that now we can make a legal argument for how we should be indemnified for the ripple effects of that culture.
Well, when you say, so I was looking through all your stuff.
Okay, right.
I was on your
right.
website.
Yeah.
I was looking at your YouTube interviews. I was just all over the place. So there's a couple of things that I want to try to clear up for other people that I thought were
Sure.
really interesting. You talk about something that's a data class struggle. What do you mean by that?
Oh, okay, you're going back a minute. Yeah, so I think as far as
I know some people data class, like what does that have to do with each other?
well, yeah, I mean, like, so there's a class of owners who own like the majority of the institutions around here and around the world in general, and then there are people who they extract data from constantly. Us, but not just us. You know, everybody basically. Everyone is a treasure trove for data and economic activity on top of that data. And so what I'm endeavoring to do via a lot of this policy that we're writing is create a class of data owners. And if I can create a class of data owners, which I think we are well on our way to, then I can create a way to distribute them equity in society, because now they have something tangible that they can say, well, this was a valuable input to productivity. And so I think the blessing that is upon us in this century, or really, you know, our generation, I'll be 38 next week, is that now we have evidence of how we exist. So we're no longer arguing about, you know, what truth is, what equality is. It's like, forget truth and equality. Give me transparency. I want factual evidence, and I want equity. You know, it's like those charts where people show of like equality versus equity, and equality is like everyone is standing on the same ladder, and equity is the short people are standing as tall as the tall people. I want the short people to be standing as tall as the tall people, and as you know, black queer kid from Detroit who had to flee to New York to start companies, I am representative of the shortest short people in the equity pool. So yeah, I want my piece. You know, this is the data class is really about ownership. It's about, you know, what we owe us from this broader economy for evidence of our culture existing in this broader economy. They may be a little heady, but I think it just comes down to something very simple, which is that, you know, we shouldn't have to earn the right to live, meaning, you know, it's job-based. And in that capacity, as we create value nearly intrinsically as we move around through the world, we should be able to get some really basic human needs on that: housing, healthcare, education, you name it. And it becomes political. It becomes a political conversation to say this is how we absolutely must live in the 21st century versus how we did live in the 20th century.
Yeah.
And so we're in politics now because we think we know something that people don't. Yeah, so that's the word. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the way you broke that down. Like, one of the things that I wanted to mention regarding the data and stuff like that, because I get it. Like, I get like everything that you was just saying. Now, what happens when like if you look at something like a Facebook, right?
Sure.
You know, people willingly give out all their information for free.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, depending on who you are or what your aspirations are, you can make money off of what you gave away free. Like, let's say I was on my gaming stream or something like that.
Yeah.
For free, I gave my information to YouTube and all of them.
Yep.
But I turned that into a business for me to make something out of.
Right.
So, but not everybody is doing that. So,
Right.
what you're suggesting is some kind of like fee for them to have the right to the data that they normally would give free? Like you know, because why would they, you know, I'm trying to understand.
I think separately than the term free, I'm thinking about like a dividend, like an equity stake from the data that they give out. So let's say, you know, every now and again, you know, culture exists, you know, community exists, and then the cream always rises to the top, right? So you're an example of that, you know, in the gaming community, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or you name it. But I like to think about that girl who used to be on Vine. Remember Vine when Vine was a thing?
6
That little
seconds.
blip.
The little blip in time that they did that thing. But there was a little girl on there, her tag name was Peaches Monroe, and she created a term on fleek. And it was basically like culture that spewed out of her. She's riding the passenger seat of her mother's car, finished getting her eyebrows threaded, which I didn't even know was a thing until I saw this video. And she was like, you know, I'm this and that. It was all affirming. I'm fly, I'm on fleek. That went viral like 46 million times. Now, the question could be asked as Nicki Minaj and Christina Milian went into a trade war trying to trademark on fleek post this little girl, and companies like MRM McCann did, you know, advertising for the likes of IHOP, saying that their cakes are on fleek, everything is on fleek. Right. And they're spending, you know, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars on this whole culture proliferates from this little girl, but it's bigger than just that little girl. It's really, it begs the question, what culture does she come from? She's from the south side of Chicago, and it's just like, you know, Detroit or Harlem or New Orleans or the southern part of LA County or Baltimore, you name it. The deal is, even as the cream rises to the top, and sure, it may be worth twice as much as what the community is.
Right.
It's not worth 500 times as much as what the community is. And so what I'm really saying, we have this intrinsic value, and we can clock it via data, is the culture, the community, the collective, the caucus of people that produce the Peaches Monroe are owed something. They shouldn't be destitute while, you know, you have one winner. And that's pervasive. It's not just in these smaller cultural pockets with regards to whether it's hip-hop culture or internet culture. The real deal is if Facebook is saying, I see all black women now in products and services that they need, and I have a collective of them to vet the sorts of products and services that they need. As those products and services are created and distributed to them, those people should be entitled to an equity stake, a piece of the market value of each one of those products. Not the whole thing, but a piece of it.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like if we play a role in driving the energy behind the benefit that you're capitalizing off of this energy, then a lot of that should all get back. That's why I really love what Andrew Yang was talking about with the freedom.
That's my guy.
I love that
we talked about this earlier.
Because to me, one of the things that he said, and I love the slogan, "We owe us." I love this slogan, "We're not to the left, we're not to the right, we all about going forward." And one thing that I really love is how, just to let y'all know, NBA Live 96. He rocked with, listen.
I mean, I used to. I don't know
he
how
rocked
I
with
get
NBA
hit
Live
right
96.
now.
Now, I just had to, let y'all know that he rocked with some of the games. So, you know what I'm saying? I had to represent for him, you know what I mean? So I had to say that.
All right, yeah.
So the last thing I was going to say is one thing that I love about the freedom dividend and everything that Andrew Yang was talking about was we are human. Nobody should be starting off at zero.
You're right.
We all have a human right to live. Why is this something that you're trying to take away from us or pay for or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that we want in the world. You may want a brand new TV. You may want this brand new phone. Okay, cool, I get it.
Yeah.
But to eat, to have shelter, health, that we're human. We
You're right.
all should have that just by default, by existing. And I love, you that dude, bro. You that dude, bro.
The other part, though, is that if you don't, not even beyond just a human right,
Sure.
Yeah.
it's creating money for people to
It
just have
is.
access to the things that people are producing for free. So then the other side of it is if you don't,
Yes.
it's exploitation.
Well, exactly. The thing is, and even if you get into, because the problem with this is like we can make this cultural argument, which needs to be made. Like I like even that Marianne Williams is running, and they're sort of taking a technical conversation and making it spiritual. If in this generation, if in this century, we don't make these conversations feel like talking about God, then they'll never get to everyone, and that's a big problem because our new, ethic is one of evidence. Like we can see everything. Like we've been tracking how we exist everywhere, and so I don't know where you were getting ready to go, but
I'm wondering what you mean by we had to make this feel like we're talking about God.
I mean, I think what we've been endeavoring to do, like when we talk to people about the fact that they're owed something, it's different than just saying, you should have this money because it exists. Because some people sort of get on their kumbaya, but it's also, I think it's also inefficient, right? If you are an input to productivity. So the equation that us economists like the most is that you are an input to productivity. Evidence of your input is data. Productivity, to be clear, is just revenues. So if I was an input to that revenue, then I should always be asking the question, what of those revenues am I entitled to?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then it becomes this moral conversation, like when we talk about Peaches Monroe, to say that like the mesh of life, the collective with which she comes from, is worth something that's so great. The question should be asked, what are they worth? Or what is a mother's love worth? If my mother gave me a whole lot of confidence, which she did, I'm sort of,
is that where it's coming
I'm
from?
ridiculous with it at this point.
Right.
So people could shoot me down. I say, like, I think I'm still pretty good. But it comes from her. So the question should be asked, what is that worth?
Yeah,
It becomes a moral issue really quick.
Yeah, I gotta tell you this because this is so powerful. And this is something else that Andrew Yang has said. So let's say, like, you got a girl, a lady, woman that's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
There's no like dollar amount value for that. Yet what she's doing is the work ethic of that is more valuable than what other people is doing that get paid all this money. So how come she don't get anything or whatever it is?
Sweat equity on anything, right? Like if I'm putting in labor, then what is it worth?
What is it worth? So the thing is, the problem is, I feel like we've allowed society to dictate what our value and what our worth is, and we owe it to us to let them know that we're worth a lot more. And if that don't change, we'll show you how once we remove ourselves, then you'll see your worth go down once we remove ourselves from what we do. And then that'll make you pay attention and bring the world back to us.
That'll always be the case.
That's
It'll
how
always
you
be
do
tribal.
it, baby. That's how you say something. That's how you
tribal.
do it.
And
Yeah.
so how does that relate to the
Hype right
idea
now. Sorry
of
to
universal basic income? Because that's something you're talking about locally that
Sure.
I know that Andrew Yang is talking about the whole
nationally.
country.
Yeah.
Right?
So the idea of universal basic income is really that it is a dividend for that, back to that old equation, input to productivity.
Okay.
So after, say, a company, let's say Amazon, for instance, is really, or Facebook or Google, people think about those, but it's so much bigger than those. It's every pharmaceutical company, every insurance company, every real estate company are really valuable based on our collective. New York City is so valuable because it's so dense with us. It's not that land is that valuable anymore. It's actually being devalued per where the people are going. What's valuable is us. And so the reason this becomes universal basic income or a universal basic income conversation is really because when we look at let's say a company like an Amazon makes $100 in the, revenues in the calendar year. Let's say they spend half of it on expenses. Let's say another 10, 20% is taxes, which we know there are plenty of ways to evade and avoid. And then that other 30% is usually saved for stakeholders. What we're doing by giving people ownership rights of their data in this cyber policy that I'm writing is we're creating a new class of stakeholders. And so when we say you're owed it, it's like, well, you can just sit back and wait, like, well, when the money comes in, send me my piece. I mean, the question should be asked, even as, Beyonce and Jay-Z are amazing. She can do things that we can't. She can run around and sing on hills and start new companies, et cetera. Yeah. I'm never saying that the boss ain't worth twice as much as the employees, but for you to be worth 5,000 or 500 times as much is problematic, because ultimately what you're displaying on that stage at Coachella is stuff that we did at Tuskegee back in the day before every football game. So if you are a distributor of culture, I'm not saying you're not hot. I'm not saying the cool kids don't get their piece. I was a cool kid growing up. Even though we acknowledging all this newness out here, the nerds are here, the queer folks are here, the women are here, et cetera, the cool kids still get their piece. It's just they're gobbling up too much of the pie. So we can make we can make two arguments at once. One is a moral argument about what we're owed, and another is an economic argument about how we can effectively and efficiently distribute that value.
Yeah.
And because of data now, we can do them both at the same time, whereas we couldn't 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Some impressive connections there.
Well, we had to do it. I mean, I was approached. I was at this thing called the Data Protection World Congress, and I was approached by all these folks. Like, I never heard anyone speak about this the way you do. Like, who else is talking like this? Who trained you? And this and that. Basically saying, I never seen a brown-faced young cat like you talking about this. And I was like, I didn't build this for us to talk about. And we didn't make this a cultural experience saying we owe us something new or something more, rather, then nobody else would. I was like, I'm having this conversation because I'm the most desperate guy in the room.
And who else could?
Exactly. I spent the beginning of my career really just automating away jobs. I was an engineer. And what happened is I started to realize at some point, even though jobs themselves wouldn't go away, they just come back with lower pay. Over the course of the past 50 years, while productivity has gone way up 200%, wages have flattened out.
That's scary.
And so if I want to close that gap, I have to give people a new bonus structure on top of the wages that we can't culturally get to ourselves. Because what happens is, if I come in and automate what you do, I map out what you do during the day. I may not put a robot in place. I think it's important to say that automation is not a robot walking through the room. Automation is how we automate the process with which we make decisions.
Absolutely.
So when you first said it, I was thinking of
robots.
Machines doing people's jobs.
Forget machines. The biggest automation is, if I know everything you do step by step, all these cameras, et cetera, around here, it used to take a lot more people to put on this production.
Absolutely.
But now we can produce a lot more of them faster and cheaper than we did previously, because we know so much about how lighting works and you name it. And so as that is the case, we've created more productivity with less input. And so our culture says, if I own this place, it's like, well, I'm a lot more efficient now. So I'm going to take a bonus, because, pat myself on the back for the cool thing that I did. And I'm gonna pay folks a little bit less who come in, or I may not raise their wages at all, because I don't see them doing as much work. Now, work in old folks' mind is toiling. I don't see you moving as much stuff around. That's a thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, but if productivity still exists there, and you took it from the cameraman, right? If you took that process from the cameraman, but now he doesn't work for you anymore, where's his piece of the pie? It's inefficient that money is not in the system anymore.
Right.
Where we're trending in life, and what Andrew's talking about, and what I'm talking about, and really so many others at this point are talking about, is that the only people who will really have money in the future going at this rate are people who own institutions or products in institutions. And so what we have to do is now spread ownership more. And it really becomes an argument that we've been having, I just mean black folks for a minute, have been having for hundreds of years. Like, what do we own and how do we play in the world?
Right.
So the new 40 acres and a mule is data and some indemnification based on how we were used previously.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
What I love about what you said is that it just all comes back to the source.
Yeah,
For example, if you look at someone like we're gonna keep it hip hop real quick, right?
Yeah.
If you look at Ralph McDaniels, right? Video Music Box. He was really the pioneer of the Joe Buttons that you see today, and like like Combat Jack, rest in peace. Like all of that stuff right here, because remember, it wasn't cool to be the person filming around. It was always cool to be the artist.
Right.
Now you see the artists with their own shows and podcasts and everything like that, Nori and everything with the Drink Champs. So, but the thing is, currently right now, what piece of the power Ralph McDaniels got in this world that he led and pioneered, whereas because the way technology is now, a lot of the other people is benefiting off of something that he started. So it's like, you know, yeah, you're the legend, you're cool, but we ain't got nothing for you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what happened. Like
it does. It has to come back to the source. I mean, it's physics. It's good physics.
It's
you know,
come back to the
things
source.
expand, but you still just expanding that source. You know, I was at Kool Herc's 50th birthday party. I mean, he had a bunch of them, but it was one.
You
on
was
Lower
there?
East. I mean, it was a party. He had a bunch of parties during those weeks. This was years ago.
Oh, okay.
But I remember thinking like it wasn't
too.
as grand as he must be like 60 now. This was like a good decade ago. But the deal is the question again should be asked per their innovation. What do they get from our broader wealth? And again, it's not everything. You know, the payoff from Facebook isn't I need $5 for my data. The deal is if you build a data class or a data union around all black women and how they might interact, and certain knowledge proliferates from that, and then certain products and services proliferate from that, the question should be asked, well, what do they all get? Do they at least get universal health care? Do they at least get rent control? Do they at least get as much education as they choose to have? Yeah, we got to protect sort of autonomy and choice. And the only way to do that is to say you are a valid and valued owner in this space and time. Yeah. And it gets a little wonky, it gets a little philosophical. We always just reduce it to, and when we're stumping around, we just talk to people about the fact that they have value. And, you know, to my surprise, 2 years ago, people would come back to us and go, no, I don't. No, I don't.
Wow.
I'm not worth that much. And so it seems like the political, and why I say it's spiritual work that we have to do, is really getting people over that hump to say, you have value.
You're entitled.
You're entitled to this.
Yes.
But I think, again, it goes back to, I was just at Al Sharpton's National Action Network with a bunch of preachers, and they were, you know, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a religious man, but I like the method of religion. And so I got up on this podium and I was talking about beyond the idea of, you know, all men are created equal. I was like, we got to get back to something more holistic and transparent, like the idea that you have an intrinsic value first, we only derive it from each other second, and we're entitled to some equity in that value that transpires from our interactions. And it's really saying that, you know, it's the idea that, to be philosophical and wonky, that value is like that of energy. It cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change form. Right now it's in the form of basically a couple owners at a couple companies, but we need to sort of dilute that and get it back into the hands of the people who contribute to their productivity. And that is a spiritual thing. It's just, the deal is we've put data points on everything now. Data's not the new oil. It's in fact the new matter. We'll put a data point on every moving particle everywhere, and it's all that matters.
Location
and so
maps.
when they see us making ripple effects, again, the question should be asked. Question should be asked to the NFL and to the NBA. And, you know, we should be looking at people like Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who didn't want to stand for the national anthem before Cap did his thing 20 years ago. Like, what is it worth?
What is it
And
worth
it's like
to
that
him?
idea that was
I mean,
just
NBA
coming
just got
up,
ahead of it.
Because I know,
because he was
Michelle
earlier.
Hill Grant said that black football players and basketball players should go to HBCUs. Like, if
I
we're
like
going to
it.
create,
I saw that tweet.
Yep,
Or
I
was
love
it a
that.
tweet or was it a
I think it
podcast?
was
Jamel Hill, right?
Jamel Hill, there you go.
Yeah.
And I was like,
she definitely
somebody
said that,
said, you know, well, yeah, because honestly,
I want them all to go to Tuskegee.
where should the money be going? If we
Anybody
make
wanna go to
billions of
Tuskegee, get your
dollars
spot.
for an institution, and the institution doesn't give us anything except for bills, right? Then what exactly is the worth of those players?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of even when we talk about like NCAA and payments, a lot of their argument is so they pay the large dollar amounts that they get from mostly football and basketball to the less popular sports, so that they can create, you know, a system of equity and equality around the campuses. And you know, I get it, and it's more culturally robust. Actually, I agree with it in theory, but the deal is, and we have to actually do that outside of collegiate sports.
Right.
So it's like if you're gonna take from the LeBrons of the world, or LeBron didn't go to school, but like Carmelo killed it. He probably should have went straight to the league, right? But he went up to Syracuse, and it was obvious he was a man playing with boys because they just killed it in a year.
Yeah.
But the deal is, if they take all those funds from the Syracuse and the Michigans and the Dukes and the UNCs and the Bamas with their football team, and they distribute it across the board to make sure that everyone who's fencing and swimming can do their thing, then we need to take that same methodology outside of that world and say, you know, Jeff Bezos probably is worth $50 million, but he's not worth $150 billion. The rest of that money is probably ours.
Interesting. And what's interesting is it makes you think, before there was a way to measure the way that culture influenced people making money, it probably was the same value realistically. We just weren't able to measure it the way that people took things from rock music, and then all of a sudden it's a white thing. People are taking from black cultural dances.
What is Chuck Berry worth? Right.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. Like, what are these people,
what is Mos Def worth
and
for
their
playing
families,
anyway,
all of it.
Then it's like, if you could make that into data, if you could have made that into data, that it would have been the exact same concept.
Right. Then we'd be well along in this conversation. Because I do think it'll take us these 2020s, and it's weird that we're living in the beginning of, the roaring 20s, or whatever our 20s will be called. It's just weird to me, it's getting ready to be a new decade. But without the roaring, I mean, the fact that we're going there, it may take a while longer to start having this conversation, but we have to start having it, I think, in places like this first, because people are watching. They want to know what we think first. And I will say this to the abject racists out there. This does not necessarily mean that all other culture is diluted. This is about justice first. It's about getting people their just due. We haven't ever had ours. And that's first. It doesn't mean that other people and their participation is diluted. When I say people have intrinsic value, I mean everyone has an intrinsic value.
Yes.
We derive it from our interactions with each other. Like, if we existed in an empty white space and there was no friction, we didn't have to react to anything, then nothing would happen and nothing would matter. But the fact that we are here, we at least have to react to each other in the room. We react to each other's body heat and breath at the very minimum.
Yeah.
And that creates movement, and value proliferates from that. So the idea that everyone has an intrinsic value is very real. They all need to adopt that. We get it from each other, and we're entitled to a piece of that pie. Everyone should be able to eat and participate.
Yes.
And that participation really creates, the best of the best. And we see that in sport. We see it in gaming, which is sport, You go up against, I used to tell everyone, I will, smash anybody with Sub-Zero back in '96 in Mortal Kombat. Right. But the deal is...
You see my face, right?
No, I hear you. That was back then. I don't know if I can do it now. But the deal is, you never know until you really go up against... somebody's birthday party is happening, and you're like, who's quick? Who's quick? And so you realize, I think at that point there was a bit of a cheat code with Liu Kang, and you could always go faster with him. But outside of that, and people who didn't know, because I really was like that dude with that game. But anyway,
just so we're clear, just so we can get some details, some supporting evidence for that.
Right. I got references, but I got cousins.
Right, we have receipts.
Yes, right. But that extra competition, people come out of that. But if the one killer in the room is the killer in the room, it doesn't mean that they want to stop playing against, that one cousin who's right under them, and then the other one, when no one else is around, like, I played a kid who can't really play.
Right.
Because I'm still trying to play.
Got you. Well, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, man. You got my vote. Like, that's
right, I want you to be president.
You got the 13th district. You got my vote.
I got the 13th district, but I can't vote for you.
And I got other stuff, but I'm going to tell you that off camera because I got to play.
You also, you have a TV station. Or a TV, you co-founded a TV network called Slate TV.
Yeah,
what's that about?
Because that sounds so different than everything else that we've been talking about. Why do that? What was that about?
So Slate TV is down in Brooklyn. They
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I don't make it down to Brooklyn.
I'm from East New York, so I didn't do that. Word
it's
up.
automatic.
I'm automatic.
That's trigger, right? No. So I met, so what happened before Slate TV is I used to advise a bunch of mayors and governors, like in the Midwest, again, on this similar sort of policy. And while moving around, I was pitched by a bunch of people in the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Like, can you start a Chamber of Commerce out there? We need somebody to face a political sort of person to build an economic branch. So most minority activism has political activism, it has social activism, and it has economic activism. I'm an economic activist. So, you build a Chamber of Commerce, you can funnel in money, and you can get it to people.
And for folks who don't know, because we didn't say this at the beginning, you are a part of a Chamber of Commerce that does exist now, that successfully happened, obviously.
Yeah. So that Chamber of Commerce, it was out in Michigan, though, but we created all those Pride Nights that people see at big box sports franchises, so NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL.
Oh, nice.
That was me first. I mean, they were calling me the devil in, Michigan and Wisconsin and everything. I was good PR, though. I was with it. I was here for it.
All attention is good attention in politics.
But no, the politicians fired me. They were like, your associations aren't aligned with the administration. But, over the course of a year or so, I was known as, I was sort of the only brown face in that space who was doing that sort of activism. And so I was brought this app called Architect by appear. I was like, yo, you got to see what these dudes are doing. They make film, they make web series, and this is post Issa Rae doing Awkward Black Girl.
So,
So they were like, yo, it could blow up. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, I don't know what this is. And so anyway, I met the original founder, our current CEO. His name is Sean Torrington, and we just had a rap on the phone, and he showed me 80 of these shows. He showed me like 5,000 hours of content.
Sheesh.
I was like, okay, that's different. So can we stop everything and build some marketing around it? So again, as the organizer, because I'm trained as an engineer, I really sort of just organize organizers, whether it's, organizing marches for like basic income or Black Lives Matter, organizing Chamber of Commerce, organizing new companies. So Slay, which was sort of my last company before we merged over into politics, came out of, there was a nucleus of creatives who just said, okay, we need to reduce all of this stuff that's in architect, all this content to a syllable. And if we can make it a syllable, it can probably be something that people can gobble up. And over the course of like 3 years, we padded on more content. We created this event called Slayfest, which is like a way more queer version of Afropunk. It happens at BAM, like right across the street from the Barclays Center.
Okay.
Oh, what?
Every July, yeah. So we just had one, and it was like the whole cast of Pose on FX was nearly there.
Brooklyn Art Museum, right?
Yeah, Brooklyn Academy of Music.
I was gonna say, I was like, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's right there in downtown Brooklyn.
So we like kicking in Brooklyn. And, sponsors come on. We had like Brooklyn Brewery and Samsung and Gucci, and like they were all there. Gucci been apologetic to everyone since they made that title.
They can't stand
She's like, y'all can go holler at, Dapper Dan, you need to come holler at us too. So all of those things sort of proliferated based on this cultural content was there. But I guess, firmly answer your question, what I saw after I realized there were so many creatives there is I have done a lot of dealings in the advertising industry, and people like us aren't there, especially people who are like gay and lesbian of trans experience, etc. Like they definitely aren't working there. And so I was like, I can look at this like a labor union. I got a bunch of people who know what to do with cameras, who know what to do with graphic design, who know what to do with storytelling. These are copywriters. And I was like, so we can sell that same service to people who not only want to put stuff on our platform, but want to do other stuff. So they produce, say it's really an ad agency at the base, and it has a digital media property, like Slay TV is on Roku, it's on Android, it's on Apple, but then they have an event, like an Afropunk, where people can come and, the kids be in there, orange hair.
Nice.
Lakele 47 was there last year. I mean, they way cooler than me. They keep me, I'm like, tell me the new stuff so I can remember. To them, they just like, it's just this straight old white dude here helping us, do the accounting. So I'm like, but they're off. They're running and doing their thing. And yeah, Slay is a good time. It's sort of a reflection of the culture of this time. It really, Slay is what let me know I was of a different generation and there were new people there.
Wow.
They were like, you old, like you done. We doing something new. And I was like, I couldn't imagine this. And 1999, I would have thought, I don't know what this is. So,
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's Slay.
Okay.
But yeah, I just look at, so I would look at it like a labor union, a software company. But we built a few, like Accrue.com was my company. It's really one of the reasons I came to New York. So it's a predictive analytics company for stocks, futures, Forex.
Yeah.
The Data Union, a company called CyberFence. We do cybersecurity assessments and cyber insurance. I feel like at my core, I'm an insurance guy. I don't think a lot of people get that, but I care about risk management. So all the stuff we're talking about with data, I'm trying to manage risk. I'm trying to manage chaos. Like if we get people a piece of the pie, then they may not want to kill each other.
Right.
And they may see the value in each other.
Interesting.
I don't want them to kill each other.
And so when you look at the issues that are going on this year with this being the highest year for trans murders.
Yeah.
I don't know if we just even keeping track, but
I think that's really one thing we haven't been keeping track.
There's been a lot of people murdered this year. I think it's about 20 to date, 19 or 20 to date.
Yeah, it was like 18 last week, but I think we're at that 20 mark. I will say what we're doing. I think the last person that I heard of was I know the last name is Bailey because we were just talking about her at National Action Network. But the deal is, hate is real. It's proliferating, but it's not necessarily hate of other people. I think a lot of people who hate other people, they're either outright sociopaths or they hate themselves. And so one thing that we're doing, like next week, I think it's on the 26th, 27th, there's a Trans Visibility March that, again, Slay is sort of on the back end programming it. and they're going to be in D.C. And so we're going to go down to D.C. But it's really just about marching and being visible. I think the interesting thing about this time is it's not like people were killing, less people of trans experience previously, or like less black men were dying at the hands of police previously. There were actually more. We live in the safest time ever, but the fact that we have evidence of everything now is jarring and triggering, and even when I have to see stuff on Twitter, it's traumatic for me to relive everything that's happened. Like Trayvon Martin's brother's a friend. He lives up in Harlem as well. Cool cat, him and his mother, and we see him at events and they come through. He and my husband are good friends, and every time we are sitting around talking about what's on the web, it's traumatic to just know that it's on the web, and it takes a toll on you after a while. And so, again, it's not like they weren't lynching more of us previously.
Right.
It's just now we know it,
we see
and
it.
that is awing. And so the most dangerous thing, and why, again, I'm concerned with risk management, is suicide is up 25%
especially among
century.
Black folks.
Exactly.
It's like extremely unusual for young Black people to be killing themselves, but this is like now the first time ever that Black youth are killing themselves at a higher rate than white youth.
And it's all because of I think there's a real feeling around the lack of potential for us to actually survive and move forward and get along in the near and far future. And it's because people who are unknowing, they look at these stats, they look at what's on the internet, and they go like, everything is hopeless. And I'll retract a bit of that. It's really not about the stats. I think it's really possible to sort of force a truth on someone with data. That's why we don't really talk about data much when we're in the public. We talk about what we're owed. It's the stories that those violent events tell us that shock the hell out of us, and they depress the hell out, even if we don't know. Like I have to, every day, a couple of times a day sometimes, I have to stop and meditate around, stuff ain't as bad as it seems. And you can do certain things.
I do trauma therapy with people, and I have to ask them and go, when you look at social media, do you feel better or do you feel worse? Because it's so automatic to pick up your phone when you're bored.
It's very possible to feel worse.
And almost universally, people feel worse after they look through their newsfeed and see what's happening.
It's gamified in. It's triggered for us to check it. When I'm not doing anything, as soon as I walk away from it, I'll probably check to see what's happening.
To
see what's going on.
Yeah, it's a bunch of little jabs.
How many times did I see Mike Brown die, right?
Exactly.
How many times?
How many times?
That's crazy.
One thing I would say I think is extremely important is I think a lot of people are so focused on what other people think about them and the standards that society has set. So for example, as a man, if you don't have this car or this apartment or this money or these clothes, when you go to school or whatever, then you ain't nothing. Your value is based on what you have. So, and because of that, if you don't have it, you don't feel valuable. And if you don't feel valuable, and plus you're not getting proper care or love at home, where you reside at, then it's why am I here? Gone. And then that happens with a lot of things. So if you're a trans person or if you're gay, if you're Black, if you're even if you're a white person, but you feel that because everybody else got a white privilege, but the privilege that I'm trying to have as white is not working for me for whatever reason. People have these thoughts and feelings.
They go, what am I getting?
And it moves people. It moves people.
And it moves people to want to kill themselves. So
want to kill other people sometimes.
Yeah, and kill other people too.
Sometimes
right
before they knock themselves out.
One thing I take a lot of power in is this. There's this quote that I created. It's called "Character is your currency."
I like that.
And the reason why I said this is because your value is in who you are, not in what you have. There's been plenty of times where I may not have had money on me, but who I am got me through things that money couldn't even buy. And everything that I wanted or needed in that moment exceeded everything. You understand what I'm saying? At base value. So to your point and to what you were saying as well, I think that the more people need to tap into who they are and block out the noise.
Start recognizing that your job is not your worth.
You know what I'm saying?
Your work
say
is
that
not
again.
your
Recognize
worth.
your job is not your worth.
That's what at the end of the class I teach, I always go, remember that your work is not your worth.
Your work is not your worth. That's a good one too.
I like that.
And that you carry your worth around with you everywhere that you go.
That's a banner.
Yeah, man.
It has to be like that. But again, so I think that's why these conversations are really more important. It's why I was on this other show and someone was talking to me about the we owe us thing. They were like, well, not grammatically. And I was like, it's got to feel like hip hop, because hip hop is way bigger than politics.
Yeah,
and
of course.
they paused for a minute, and it was, an Asian cat on the West Coast, but he got it. Like, he was like, okay, I get it. I'm listening to hip hop because everybody, hip hop is pervasive now. It's everything.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Amy Winehouse singing a Girl from Ipanema, but the drum kit in the back made you think Questlove was running in the back. And I was like, oh, now it's everywhere. But to that point, when we talk about like people's worth, if we're not talking about like this as a culture and it bubbles up to our regular politic, then our top shelf political leaders will keep talking about our worth from a standpoint of jobs. The reason I endorsed Yang after, I was introduced to Yang by a labor union leader named Andy Stern, who was really accredited with building his freedom dividend, whereas I was talking more about a data dividend. I had Andy on my radio show actually yesterday. I do a show up in Harlem on WHCR.
You just say Andy, just all casual.
Andy is the homie, but he's sort of like he's sort of the godfather, at least, of these last 10 years, but he ran the SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, for years, from like 96 to 2010. And he wrote this book about this. Now, this is a guy, they being leaders of labor unions, exist to protect jobs. And they move around a lot of political weight. And political leaders who are talking about our worth, our value, our economic value, are usually doing that from a standpoint of hardworking people can always get blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And the problem with that is they equate all of your value to your work or your job or your ability to do so. And that's why I like the quote the most is that, I like your quote now more, your work is not your worth, but also like we shouldn't have to earn the right to live. If our conversation as people who are creating culture, we're creating sport, we're creating music, we're creating art, if it's not such that says we have this intrinsic value and that we should be able to eat off that at the very least, like we're worth at least $1,000 a month, that basic income is not the end all. That's where we're starting.
That's where we start.
But if we're not saying that, and that's not culture that comes from people our age, then by the time we are 50 or whatever, it won't be the major bit of our political lexicon, and that's really dangerous.
Sure.
That's like the main reason I think people like us should be in politics, whether we acknowledge ourselves being formally in politics or not, is because if politics in 20 years doesn't feel like us more than anyone else, we're done.
Yeah.
Because
I'm for president. If that's okay, I'm gonna just write you in.
We're gonna work on
Yo, I'll tell you, between James and Yang,
we got
in there. 16 years.
Listen, I'm gonna stay in my district. All right, y'all. So we're about to go to a break, and when we come back, because this got deep. We need a second to breathe, get present with yourself. Make sure that you're not checking social media during the break. And then when we get back, we're gonna play a couple games with you, and then we can let the people know where to find you after this.
Okay, let's do it.
So we'll be right back.
Dope.
Hey, this is your girl Chantel on the Culture Dome, and we are back with JFK.
Yeah.
James
Holding it
Felton
down
King.
right now.
And we are about to play a couple of games, the first of which is specifically catered to your expertise in data. Right? And knowing how data gets used and all that other stuff. I've been seeing a couple of people throwing out controversies, throwing out all sorts of things about what you should and shouldn't share, what you should and shouldn't do, right? So we're gonna get your do or don't on the next couple of things, right? So I'm gonna throw out something. You're gonna go do, don't, or no comment.
Okay, do,
right?
don't,
Because
no
I know you're in
comment.
politics, we're not trying to throw off your campaign.
Yeah, word up.
You're gonna give me the option of plead the fifth option.
I'll comment,
You said I'll comment.
I think, anyway,
He's not gonna take no comment on any of these.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing is posting your age on your LinkedIn. Do or don't?
Don't.
Okay. Sending nudes via DM.
Don't.
Okay. Post pictures of your children's faces.
Do.
Okay. Talk about your relationship online.
Do. If it moves you, do, I think.
Okay. Post about your income.
Don't.
Share opinions about other people's sexuality.
Do.
Post pictures of yourself partying.
Do.
Oh.
I think
Leave the camera on your laptop uncovered. I know some people with a little piece of tape.
you know, do be careful.
I like that. I like that. Dude, be careful. Got you. I like that.
Add your coworkers as friends on social media.
Which social media? Dude, why not?
You got one that you would say don't?
Dude, I mean, you know, a lot of this depends on who you are, but you know, do it. Even with the income thing, I think some of it is cool, but it's tacky. It's like culturally viewed as tacky, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
About your work is not your worth. So you don't need to post that. You know, if you killed it, good for you. If you didn't, let's work on that. But I would say do with the coworkers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're good with the coworkers.
Do.
And then
They gonna see you partying though.
Yeah.
keep your location turned on.
I like don't on that. But
Okay. You wouldn't personally.
Actually, I think my location is on right now because I don't think I know how to turn it off on Facebook.
I was gonna say, I got a lot of
wouldn't
things
say that.
tracking me.
I think I'm too lazy to just go in and turn it off. So I would say, you know what? Do. Yeah, do. Why
Sure.
not?
What about, and this is the last one, posting adult videos to pay for college?
Do.
Do. I was gonna say it's a billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, I mean, if you
I'm
want
just
that,
curious.
what's that new one? Do. I mean, if that's your means, I think in this new era, especially with young people, like, they're all nude on the internet in some way. And so,
It's like we all got dudes on the internet now.
And so if they can't pull that back, if their life has to be that transparent, then they can't be judged by what baby boomers would have done on the internet. Because I mean, they would have done the same thing on the internet. They were, you know, smoking doobies and burning bras and not voting
Right,
in
you're lucky that
1960.
Facebook didn't exist in 1967.
Exactly.
Right,
The
right.
sexual revolution happened in the 60s. I mean, we may have taken it to new heights, but
Maybe we just caught it on camera.
exactly.
Yeah, that's all that is.
Exactly. Their video just a little bit more gritty. So I think, look, if it exists and people feel comfortable backing it up culturally, then it should exist. Everyone is not trying to appeal to everyone else, but those of us who are should be mindful of, like, I'm trying to reach a broader audience, but you know, I think we gotta live in the now. And you know, the only thing I will say, I froze a little bit on the posting the location because I know some people can be in real danger, especially, you know, women come to me talking about that all the time, and I get that. So I would say, you know, if that's you, don't. But for everyone else, if you're comfortable in doing it and you're willing to deal with the consequences of transparency, do it.
That's a big if.
That's
a big if.
Everyone needs to ask themselves that question.
Are you willing to deal with the consequences of transparency?
Yeah.
I'm glad. I know we're in the middle of the game, but I'm glad you said that in terms of dealing with the consequences, because I feel like one of the problems when we talked about suicide earlier and stuff like that is a lot of people don't want to deal with the consequences of their decisions, especially when their decisions was based off somebody else that they listened to.
Right.
See, the thing is, like, a lot of times, if let's say you make a decision, but it's your decision, it's easier to live with because it was a choice that you made.
Right.
But if you make a choice influenced by your mother, your brother, or somebody that you feel close to, and things kind of go left, then you live with this bitterness and you're blaming them for everything that took place from this decision instead of owning it up to yourself. And that could lead to somebody wanting to kill somebody or kill yourself or whatever, because then you feel stuck and it wasn't even you that got you stuck. And that's how you view it. But in reality, your decisions is your decisions. If you're not prepared to live or deal with the consequences, whatever, then be careful.
I think we're in a new age of accountability, if I'm honest with you. I think people's level of accountability right now, I don't know if you've met kids recently, but they are very specific about what it is that you should and shouldn't do. They're very, very accountable about pronoun usage.
And they're different, like, these Gen Zs, the post-2000
they getting
kids.
it. They checking me. I'm like, oh, sorry, you're right.
My son is 5 years old, and
I even go there like, we mess up, but
my son is 5, and he's like big on Minecraft and Roblox and stuff. And if you get something wrong, or something like it's like they're big on being accurate and being correct and
not being offensive, right?
It's amazing.
Which is not a bad. I mean, honestly, not a bad trend. I know some people don't like the idea that political correctness is a thing, but I guess the alternative is that people say whatever they want, regardless of who it hurts, regardless of compassion or any sort of concern for just like some social norm.
They're offending everyone constantly.
You know, because it's like, I like for people to be transparent and honest, but you want to do it out of a place of understanding and not out of a place of ignorance. I don't want you to be transparently ignorant. I don't care what you think if you don't know anything. Like, just keep it to yourself.
Right.
I don't really care that
No,
much.
yeah, you're right.
But,
okay.
you know,
but we should be allowed to, as old people, and the new old people, to, you know,
As the new
to
old
get
people.
there. You know, to like get there.
Yeah, and I think that people,
like, give me a minute.
people overestimate how much people actually give you space to get there, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't look at white people and expect them to understand every single thing that goes on for me, right?
No.
But white people look at me like there's zero room for tolerance. Like, I'm just like, listen,
I'm not here to
I'm not
browbeat
being
you.
as hard on you as you being on you. Trust me when I say,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's like everybody knows. You know, we all
Right.
try to figure it out.
Right.
So the last part of our game, I've cooked up some special conspiracies for you.
Okay.
A staple of our show is called the conspiracy theory game.
Oh, I like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all love it because we all love a
it's
good
fire, it's
conspiracy
fire.
theory.
Yeah. Okay.
Fortunately, I can't partake in this episode. This is all you right now.
Oh,
right.
yeah, because you
Because I
know,
know.
he knows which ones are true and false. He likes to participate. I ruined the fun today by letting
Oh,
him
like,
know
it's a conspiracy
beforehand.
theory. All right, let's
so,
dig in.
so I've tried to find some special government-related conspiracies for you. Not hard to do.
Okay.
So the way that this works is
hard to
it's
do.
like 2 truths and a lie.
Okay.
2 of these are actually facts, and one of them is just a conspiracy theory that got cooked up.
Okay.
All right. And
2 are true. Okay. Yep.
2 are true and 1 is not. And so you're going to have to guess which one is just a conspiracy theory and is not a fact.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I wish we had some music. I wish I want some
Yeah,
like,
it'd be dope if we had some music. Yeah.
I'm going to have to find some like
I got a mentor who used to run an NSA. Can I like text out? I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Actually,
Can you phone a friend?
Yeah.
I
He a
mean,
black
I don't
guy,
care.
too. Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Okay, so we just got to keep in mind we got time limits. All right, so the first, we got 3 theories. The first one is that the U.S. government tried to use hip hop to spark a revolution in Cuba.
I'm gonna say true or false now, not hear all of them.
Well, I'll let you hear all of them. I just wanted to pause so you could think
Okay.
about it.
All
The
right.
second one is that China has banned hip hop culture and actors with tattoos from appearing on television.
Okay.
And the last one is that Troop Clothing Company, which is a hip hop clothing brand that was sported by LL Cool J heavily, was exposed to be owned by the KKK and to stand for To Rule Over Oppressed People. Troop.
It's called Troop or Truth?
Troop.
Oh, Troop.
T-R-O-O-P.
I
To
don't
rule
remember that.
over oppressed people is what it was thought to stand for. So which one do you think is false? Do you think it's the U.S. using hip-hop in Cuba, China banning hip-hop culture and tattoos from TV, or Troop Clothing Company being owned by the KKK?
Oh, 1 is false, 2 are true. That's what you're
Yes,
saying?
exactly.
I think Cuba is false and the other 2 are true.
Ooh.
Yeah. I guess I'll
So-
tell you who I am based on what I think about the third one, right?
They're all plausible, all right?
I'm
So
like,
the first one, the U.S. government tried to use hip-hop to spark a revolution in Cuba is true.
Oh.
In 2009,
I felt like,
in
anyway.
2009, the U.S. intentionally, and this goes to show you who the U.S. government is, right?
Yep.
That's
Tried to
corny.
infiltrate Cuban culture with hip-hop music because they thought it would cause rebellion against socialism, and so they essentially.
This is a corporate diversity and inclusion issue. Who was black at that table? Who
That's what
was
I'm saying. I was
Cuban?
like,
Nobody in there.
This was a terrible idea. It did not work out the way that they
Those
thought
bad
it
ad
would.
campaigns. where They'd be like, yo, and I'm here to say. Anyway, keep going.
So they thought it was going to make people rise up. They thought
man.
that's what was doing it in America, I guess. with
Okay, I
hip-hop.
can
So
dig
they're
it.
like, all these Black Lives Matter people, maybe we should throw it to Cuba.
Yep.
They'll throw a revolution out too. Okay, and then China has actually banned hip-hop culture and actors with
That makes
tattoos from
sense.
appearing on TV.
Yeah.
They think that it's a bad influence. They think that it promotes negative stuff and anti-government sentiments,
They
which
ban
hip-hop
everything.
is known
Mush
for.
it, yeah.
Now,
And
what's-
so they're
what's-
not into it.
What's funny that you said that about China and the tattoos and stuff like that. Another thing I wanted to say is, like, stop judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Like, stop, because the same person with that tattoo or whatever could be the very person that saved your daughter from a burning building. Like,
Sure.
you
Oh,
understand
my
what I'm
man who
saying?
did do that. The guy who scaled the building in France.
Oh, yeah, actually, yep.
Yeah. Oh, that was a thing.
That's news to me.
Oh yeah, he was like a real life Spider-Man.
Damn.
Got
So-
a little girl out of a burning building, but yeah.
So, but
Whoa.
nah, but the thing is,
gotta-
it's like,
I gotta YouTube that.
nah, for real. The reason why I said that is because, just real quick, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of wearing suits. They look nice, whatever, but I don't wear suits. Like, I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
don't. I recently
Me either,
had a
but
suit
yeah.
on for, I won an award.
Sorry.
But I wore one because it was required. If it's
Yeah,
required, I'm wearing it because, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't, you know, wear suits. I don't do
Yeah.
that. But one of the things is when I was, when I used to have a day job, right?
Mm-hmm,
When I was always told growing up that, you know, you gotta be presentable, you gotta look this, you gotta look like that, whatever. And then I'll say, well, Trump says all this dumb stuff out of his mouth, but he has a suit on every day. So are you telling me that because I got the suit on, I'm better? What are you talk? So then I had meetings in big boardroom meetings with all types of executives dressed down, like just like whatever, because what I'm saying, like, and who I am as a person in my heart, in my spirit, is what made a lot of these deals and things happen because of the impact that I'm making. So I just want to say is don't be so quick to see the person with a face tattoo and be like, you got a face tattoo, and just write them off, because you never know where your blessing will come from. And God will show you who's God by revealing your ignorance to you, to help you become a better person amongst people, because you never know where your blessings is going to come from.
I can dig that.
So I just wanted to share that, because I thought that was powerful in terms of what you said.
Because you might get saved by a man with a face tattoo. Is the real.
That is real.
China.
I know China. I like the way you said that too, China.
They're not gonna see this because they can't get used to it.
They're the scariest thing out there, for real.
Catch-22 of me saying that is no one in China will ever see this.
If we don't get our model for including people right, then they will win us over. I mean, with regards to how they engage the world, how they spend their money. If we can figure out how to get everybody participating in the same way and actually export that to the rest of the world, whether it's UBI or whether it's this intrinsic value or whether it's ensuring that people have an equity stake per data, if it's not real bona fide inclusionism, and we can't get the rest of the world on board, then we're gonna lose our stronghold. And like my biggest fear from a foreign relations standpoint, but it matters across everything, is really real communism, real China, winning us over ideologically, country by country. Because all of these other smaller countries are available for new types of leadership.
You're absolutely right.
So all that to say that the second one is indeed true.
It isn't true.
Let's just wrap it up to say that the last one wasn't true, luckily. Unfortunately for True Clothing Company, because everybody thought it was. And so essentially for 5 years they were out of business because everybody believed they were owned by the KKK, and LL Cool J couldn't make everybody believe otherwise. Because he definitely was rocking it. Nobody believed it.
Like
they were
Mama said, knock you out. But they was like, you ain't knocking this out.
As I said, everybody loves a good conspiracy theory. So indeed, they were put out of business within 4 years because everybody thght it was owned by white supremacists.
And I jumped right on that. I was like, I could believe that.
Yeah, there you go. That's how they got out of business, just because of people like you.
All right.
You're right. No, you're right. I'm right there.
But thank you so much for participating.
Thank y'all.
So see, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't anything too scary in those games. You totally prepared.
Y'all got me thinking about China. I mean,
listen, everybody's thinking about China. So, but let people know where to find you if they want to find you after they watch this.
So our website is just jamesfeltonkeith.com. Everyone can Google James and Felton and Keith, all first names. And if you want to donate to the campaign, everything is at votejfk.org. Our race is June 23rd. We love to have everyone come up to Harlem, come up to the Heights, come up to Inwood, help us canvass the area. This is about telling everybody else about how valuable they are and what they're owed from this economy, from this culture right now. And that's the work. That's the activism.
All right, that's the word.
Yeah.
So the takeaway here is also know your worth, people, because you got it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you for watching. Once again, this is your girl Chantel. Thank you so much for joining us, James Felton Keith, 13th Congressional District.
I was going to say the 13th. I was like, James Felton Keith, the 13th.
That too. And slavery and all of that. But also, thank you for joining us so much with the Hip Hop Gamer here, as always.
You already know what it is, man. And stay tuned. I got a crazy, crazy stream that's coming out on Borderlands 3. All right, so make sure you stay tuned to that. That's going to be Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all stay tuned to that. One love. God bless. Shout out to the Culture Dome. That's home. You know what I mean? Shinju Whiskey.
We got Guap Coin sponsors, and of course, we have Never Enough Coffee. And so, once again, thanks to our sponsors, and thanks for watching Culture Dome here on Young Boss Media.
Yeah.